I think Janet made the offer, but if you would like to, okay.
Wyandotte Creek Groundwater Sustainability Agency Board Meeting Agenda. We will stand for the pledge. Salute. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please.
We have Board Person Riston.
Here.
We have absent is Vice Chair Brenham and Chairperson Colony. And then we go to Board Person Goodson,
Here.
Board Person DeLee.
Here.
All right, moving on to the consent agenda. Let's see. We have 3.1, approval of the 6/26 board meeting minutes, and 3.2, consideration of amendment number 1 to the contract with Hansford Economic Consulting. Is there someone here?
I approve the consent agenda, items 3.1 and 3.2.
Are there any cards for this 3.2 agenda item?
There are no cards.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Second. All right.
Aye. That way we could just have like a yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Motion carries.
Oh, we have to hear him, though.
Oh.
Sorry.
Oh. No thumbs up, just say aye.
Yes, that would be great.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Excellent, thank you. Moving on to regular agenda items. We're looking at a presentation and discussion, the evaluation of potential fee structure for the Wyandotte Creek Groundwater Sustainability Agency. Who's going to take that over?
I'll go ahead and do
Catherine.
an introduction. Thank you, Chair Goodson, or Director Goodson. I never know if I do the substitute one.
It's fine.
Thank you. So today I'd like to introduce Catherine Hansford from Hansford Economic Consulting. Catherine was the consultant for the VINA GSA fee study. So the VINA GSA passed a new fee study in June of this year, and at one of our board meetings, the board requested that we contract with Catherine to kind of look and see what the VINA GSA fee structure would look like for the Wyandotte Creek Subbasin, and she is here today to present on that memo and all of her results.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much, and welcome.
Yeah.
It's on? Okay,
It's on.
thank you. Okay, let's try that. Will this work for me? Okay, perfect. All right, well, thank you very much for having me. As Dylan said, I put Vina's fee structure to the Wyandotte Creek, so we're going to work through it. Okay, so I have just a couple of intro slides, just as kind of a reminder about different tools that are in the toolbox for funding GSAs. So this first slide shows some general tools. This is usually how GSAs get started, with contributions and with grants. Sometimes they might have an endowment. And then usually they move from there to either Sigma tools or other types of specialized funding tools. So we are in the Sigma tools. There is regulatory fees and property-related fees, and then there's a particular code that allows for meter installation cost recovery. We're not talking about that today. But we are talking about regulatory fees, and there's also property-related fees. So Wyandotte Creek right now has a property-related fee. That means that you went through a Proposition 218 process, whereby each of your customers were given the opportunity to protest the fee. And so that was conducted. In Vina, the same thing happened in 2023. But this year, when they adopted their new fee, they adopted a regulatory fee. This is a little bit of a different process. This is in California's Constitution, in Proposition 26, you can adopt a regulatory fee. So just to explain a bit more the difference here, the regulatory fee is to pay for things that the state has regulated you to do. So this is things like reporting to the Department of Water Resources, documenting your well pumping activity, conducting all kinds of studies, filling in data gaps, inspections, and all kinds of general program expenses. When you have to have a Proposition 218 fee is when you're conducting management activities. So you're doing things like you're acquiring land, you're building projects, you're moving water around. It's kind of like you've become a water provider. So those are the two real distinctions there. For Vina, I did do a review of different Sigma fees that are out there right now, and did find that of those that I looked at, 18 of them had these Proposition 26 fees, 9 of them had the 218 fees. There's been kind of a shift recently, well, not recent, last few years, more towards more Prop 26 fees. So Vina switched from a 218 fee to a Proposition 26 fee because they are only funding regulatory activities with the money. Okay. So the Vina fee was adopted in June of this year. It took us some time. We started in really June, July of the year before. We had a lot of stakeholder input. We put out a survey. We had direction from the advisory committee. We looked at lots of different data sources. We looked at the limitations of them, what we could do with them. And we did have quite a lot of legal counsel input as well. So what we ended up with there was a two-part fee structure. Part one is to pay for the administrative costs of the GSA, and that gets paid for by all usable parcels. So really every parcel that's within the GSA, unless it's exempt, and the only parcels that are exempt by law are federally owned parcels, or they're just unusable. So it could be something like a road, a parcel somehow ended up just encompassing a road, or a pond or something like that. Sometimes you'll have a parcel that's unusable because it's so new and the assessor hasn't yet assigned it a taxability code too. So you can't charge the fee yet, you don't have the information. The Part 2 fee pays for those activities that are being driven by the folks that are using groundwater in the basin. So that gets paid by the groundwater users. That's defined as agricultural and domestic. Mm-hmm. And I'm happy at any point, if you want to stop me and ask for clarification, ask any questions, I'll just stop. So the Vina GSA fee gets collected in two ways. The first is on the tax roll. That's how you do it too. So on the TITA plan, the county pays the GSA the full amount that's put onto the tax roll. That's received in 3 installments. But not all of the parcels that are being served by the GSA are sent a property tax bill. There are non-taxable parcels as well that receive the benefit and that can be charged the fee. So there are parcels such as, and I'll just say for Vina, like Butte College, the university system. They are all non-taxable parcels, but they could be charged the fee. So Vina made that decision that they were going to charge the fee to those parcels. They're called handbill parcels because they can't get a property tax bill, the GSA sends out an invoice to them individually. So that also gave a new set of parcels upon which the fee could be charged. Okay, so the reason for this, though, really, is that all of the parcels are benefiting from this GSA management. So even if they're non-taxable, they're still benefiting from it. State says you're in the GSA, GSA has to manage the water underneath at your property, you're included. So everybody except the exempt parcels are included in the fee. Okay, so applying this to Wyandotte Creek. In the report for the Viner GSA fee, tried to make it very what's the word? Very simple to follow in steps. I'll say it that way. So there's three steps in there. First of all is determining the Part 1 and the Part 2 costs. So what does it take to essentially keep the lights on, right? What does it take? You've got to have staff. You've got various costs associated with that. And Part 2 is those things that are being driven by the groundwater users. And I think the next slide, we'll talk about that a bit more.
Catherine, can I
Yeah.
ask a quick question? Stepping back real quick before we
Yeah.
get too far down. Previously, with the previous fee study that we did, and there was the non-billable parcels that were essentially tribal lands, state lands, and federal lands, that decision was primarily based on the interpretation of who is billable and who is not. That has nothing to do with Prop 218 or Prop 26.
That's right,
Okay,
yeah.
so
So
we-
Sigma allows
Regardless of
you.
the 218 or 26, we are making the decision, or Vina made the decision to
Yes.
go ahead and apply that fee to those parcels.
Yes, so it doesn't matter which route you go down, the 26 or the 218, there are non-taxable parcels, and I don't know what sort of juncture that decision was made, but at some point, there was a decision that we're only going to charge the fee to those that we can put on the tax roll. But you always had that ability to charge the non-taxable parcels, even with a 218 fee.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. The next step is determining the Part 1 and the Part 2 fee units. So that's going to be how many parcels there are, how much cropped acreage there is, and how many parcels have a structure on them. We'll talk about that some more. And then performing the calculations. But I do want to be very clear that I've done a lot with the budget that you gave. But this is not a full fee report, so I think the numbers are good, sort of representative ballpark numbers that are calculated here. But just know that I think, even if you were to go with this potential fee structure, there'd be a little refinement. And then B, if you would still want to go out and talk to the stakeholders and really, do the full fee effort, if you did decide that you wanted to go down a different methodology, okay? All right, so the Part 1 and the Part 2 fee costs. So staff prepared the budget. You have your adopted budget for this year. But in the fee study, we look out 5 years. We want to see what is the potential change in the next 5 years. And oftentimes that's because you might have a grant right now that's paying for certain costs, but in maybe a year or two, that grant's going to drop off, and now you have to start funding that activity through your fees. So we go out 5 years. That was very much a coordinated effort with staff. And looking at that 5-year window, what's that cost? How much of those costs are in the Part 1 and how much of those costs are in the Part 2? And that's how we came to this 61-39 split. Okay, so that's in total, if we're just looking at next year's, next fiscal year, that's a budget of about $214,000. So that would be split 61% to the Part 1 and 39% to Part 2. I'm not sure what happened there. Do you have a printout of your slide, or? I don't know. Well, I can tell you what it's supposed to be on here. So this is the Part 2. So once the Part 1 and the Part 2 has been
might wanna
split.
Try hitting it again. It might
Try
be
it? Okay, yeah, see.
Oh, no.
No?
Or go forward?
Is she on
Oh, no,
page
oh.
Oh,
21? Let's see.
that's very strange.
This is
Yeah.
on page 33.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so this is now part 2. As I said, that there's 2 different types of uses that have been identified. One is agricultural, and the other is the domestic or municipal uses. In Vina, so we're looking just at the groundwater pumping to determine how much of this cost would go to agricultural users and how much to domestic. In Vina, about 90% of the groundwater pumping is agricultural and about 10% is for domestic. In Wyandotte Creek, it's about 95% that's agricultural and about 5% domestic. There is a table, if you can see the table, and it shows the historical split between agriculture and domestic. So you could get very detailed, and we actually gave this as an option to the Vina board. We said you could go with a rolling historical 5-year, and you could take that exact percentage and apply it to next year. Or you could just say it's about a 90-10 split. So their decision was, we'll just go with a 90-10 split. If we see something change dramatically in the next few years, then we would revise it. So I move forward with just this 95% split, but it's a choice that you could make. I have worked elsewhere where they felt very particular and they wanted it to be more precise, but so it's a choice for you. Okay, so that's the part 2 split. Okay, so now we have the costs. They've been allocated to different groups. And then we need to determine what we're dividing that cost by. So for part 1, we want to know the total number of parcels, just parcels, within the GSA. I'm actually, Dylan, can you tell me what page that's on?
The parcels are, I mean, on page 34.
There we are.
This one-
I
yeah.
found it.
Yes, so
Slide
they are
11.
on, they
Okay.
are luckily on here, so.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
It's a good thing. Okay, so parcel, for part 1, that's just any parcel with an assessor parcel number. The part 2, for agriculture, gets divided by the number of cropped acres. Now, the number of cropped acres will change from year to year because Vina decided they would use the most recent data cropping set that's available from the Department of Water Resources, and there is a 2-year lag. So for this year, for setting the fee, we were using the 2023 cropped acreage. Now, that resource is a free resource. It's because it's on DWR's website. You could get more up-to-date information through Land IQ if you chose to pay for that service. But this was the direction we got. For cropped acres in Vina, we excluded the idle and unclassified crop codes. Now, that means that either the property was truly idle, or it could mean that it was cropped for a portion of the year, but that Land IQ couldn't
Okay.
determine what it was. So it's sort of, by excluding them, you're kind of giving them the benefit of the doubt. You're saying, we don't really know what you did on that land. You might have watered it a little bit, but maybe not, so we'll just exclude it. I do know other GSAs that just include all of it. They would include the unclassified and the idle, but Vina, they chose to exclude it. Okay? And then a developed parcel, it means that there's a building or a structure on it. And the reason why we use 2 different data sources for that is that sometimes the Assessors County data doesn't have the building square footage. Even though you can see on a map there is a structure there. And then the FEMA is good data, but they don't update it every year. So you could have some more recent developments that don't show up in the FEMA database. But by using the 2 databases, we feel like we have really good coverage with that. So the idea there is if you've got a building structure, you're using water for some purpose. We don't know what the purpose is, but there's some water being used there. Okay? All right, so I do have a slide here as a comparison of the parcels and the acres charged. And really, this just is to demonstrate that we get to, with the analysis I did, we got to about the same acreage as you have with your current fees if you look at the tax roll. So on the hypothetical table on the left, if you look at the tax roll number of acres, it's about 40,200 acres. And compare that with your fee acres of 42,298. So we've got a little bit of a difference there, but it's very close. And then on the hypothetical fee structure, I've added the hand bill. So you can see here that there's about 12,000 acres that could be charged the fee that you're currently not charging the fee. Okay. All right, so within these calculations, I have some margins for refinement to the database. I did this in Viner too because even between when you do the work and then when you actually prepare the tax roll, there can be a little bit of a difference. So it's good to have a little bit of a margin of error. So I have 2.5% margin for the Part 1 fee and a 5% margin for the Part 2 fee. So this part's very straightforward. This is just math. This is just total cost divided by either the number of parcels or the cropped acres or the developed number of parcels. So the fee calculates out to, at this time, I know you can't see it, $10.68 per parcel.
We can see it.
Oh, you can? Yeah. Oh, good. The screen is blank, so I'm not sure what everyone sees. Okay, and then the Part 2, the agricultural, $5.80 per cropped acre, and for domestic, 44 cents per developed parcel. That is per year. Okay, and then I'm going to show you some illustrations of how this would be applied. Okay. And this is really important. So in Wyandotte Creek, you are different from Viner because you do have surface water supplies. In Viner, there are very few properties that use surface water. And to our knowledge, even if they are using surface water, they also use groundwater. Now, if they can prove that they are not using groundwater, if they're not using groundwater at all, they can create an appeal. We haven't quite worked through that process yet, but that is something they could do. But to our knowledge, everyone's using groundwater in Viner. Wyandotte Creek, that's not true because you have got, and I'm going to butcher this, South Feather Power.
Water and power.
Help me out.
Just say South Feather.
South Feather, thank you. So because you have South Feather, and they do provide both agricultural water and domestic water. So I have accounted for that. That means that you're adding categories to that Part 2 fee that Viner didn't have. I'm going to explain that. Just make sure it's on that slide. Oh, it's on that slide. Let me go back a second.
All the pictures are on here, so they'll be able, anything
Good.
that is on there. They can see.
Okay.
And to
So-
the people, if you're seeing it online, if you go to the packet, all of the images are there as well.
So categories 1 through 4 is the same as Viner. A parcel could just have crops on it, or a parcel could just have a domestic use on it, or a parcel could have agricultural and domestic use on it. The 4th category is the grazing and the vacant land, which do not receive any Part 2 fee. They only pay the Part 1 fee. Their water use, their groundwater use is either 0 or so minimal it's not even reported to DWR. For Wyandotte Creek, we've added parcel categories 5 through 9. Now, only 2 of these would receive a Part 2 fee because the other ones are receiving surface water only. So you could have an parcel that has its agricultural water coming from South Feather, but it has a domestic use on it, and it is using either it's receiving it from Thermalito or from Cal Water, or it's pumping domestic water itself. So we have two new fee categories to add for Wyandotte Creek. So it's just a little bit more complicated than Vina.
Because of the surface water.
Because of the surface water. But it's doable. I did that in this exercise. There's actually very few parcels that either receive surface water for agriculture and then have groundwater for domestic, or vice versa. But they're still, you have them, so you'd have to account for them. Okay, so now I'm going to show you some illustrations of how the fee applies, how Vina's fee applies, and how it could work here. So this example is an agricultural parcel. The purple-blue color is growing, is that rice? I think, yes, that's rice. And then the G, I know it's hard to make out here, but on the left-hand side, there's a couple of G, and that's grains and hay, okay? And then on the right-hand side, do I have a pointer on here?
It's a little green dot.
Oh, great, okay, so,
It might not show up on the screen.
okay. Oh, well, okay. Right where that arrow is sticking out from, it looks sort of turquoisey, that area there, that portion of the parcel is not growing anything. So it would not be charged the fee for those acres. So the parcel pays the Part 1 parcel fee, and then it pays for the cropped acreage for the rice and the grains. But the residual amount is not charged, okay? Here's an example of a parcel that has both domestic and agricultural uses on it. This one is code D, which means it's growing nuts, deciduous trees, and it has a homestead on it. So it's paying Part 1 fee, and it's paying for the cropped acreage, but then it's also paying for the developed parcel fee. Now, the developed parcel fee is only 44 cents, so it's pretty minimal, but the fee structure recognizes that there's more than just agricultural use on the parcel. Here is a home. This could be in Oroville, for example. This is served by Cal Water. Cal Water does use a lot of surface water, but they also have wells in the GSA's area, so they are groundwater users too. So this domestic lot would pay the Part 1 fee and the Part 2 developed parcel fee. Okay, this example is grazing land. This would also apply if there was just simply vacant land as well. So currently, this parcel pays the non-irrigated fee for all of the acres on the parcel. Under Vina's methodology, it would just pay the Part 1 fee for the parcel. That's it. There'd be no acreage calculation. Okay. This is an example where we have the agricultural and the domestic. They are both using surface water. I know it's hard to see on the legend, but there is a yellow crosshatch and then there is a pink crosshatch, and that denotes this map information was provided by South Feather. So we used a GIS mapping tool to overlay their data on the parcels. So the crosshatch indicates that it's receiving surface water, so that parcel will only pay that Part 1 fee. Okay? And here's one of those examples. Like I said, there's not very many of them, but in this example, the domestic water is being supplied by South Feather, but they do not provide agricultural water to the parcel. So this parcel must be using a private well to grow its crops. So this parcel pays the Part 1 fee, and it pays the Part 2 fee for the cropped acreage. Okay. This table gives you some examples of land uses and how much they would pay under your current methodology and under the Viner GSA methodology that was, as I said, modified a little bit for the Part 2 to account for surface water. The first example is a parcel that is an agricultural parcel. It's 100 acres. All 100 acres are cropped, and it is exclusively using groundwater. Under your current structure, that parcel would pay $1,230. Under the Viner GSA methodology, it would pay $590.68. So that parcel would pay less under Viner's methodology than it currently pays. The second example is an agricultural parcel, but it also has a home on it. It's 200 acres. We're assuming here that 180 of those 200 acres are growing, and the remaining 20 acres is for the home and, I don't know, landscape uses, etc. That parcel is currently paying $2,460. Under the Viner GSA methodology, it pay $1,055.12. So again, that parcel would pay less under the Viner GSA methodology. Then there's an example of a home in Oroville. Assuming it has a 1/4 acre lot, it is currently paying $1.96 for the year. Under the Viner GSA methodology, it would pay $11.12 for the year. So the homes would pay more per year, but that's